What is up, guys? How are you? How is everybody doing? Thank you for joining me. It's I feel great. I feel happy to be here. It's been like 2 weeks, I think, since the last live. Um, Bug, what's up, man? He says just about to sleep. Sofa made it. Thank you, Sofa, for coming. Rusty Pack, what's up, man? Um, so we are in epic, crazy times. Um, it's been a hell of 180 days, right? We've been waiting for this UAP report to drop for months. It's dropped. The feedback from the community, some people hated it, some people loved it, some people understood it. I at first really thought, I did the first thing everybody did when I opened it up. It was only 9 pages, and I said, why 9 pages, right? You would think it'd be much more extensive or deeper. It's a deep dive. The UFO phenomenon is a deep dive. I'll tell you what, I could probably write definitely more than 9 pages about the phenomenon, but we still got to remember what we've always talked about, at least here on the channel, and I've talked about this with you guys many times, is that the UAP report was really not for us, right? It was for Congress and the general public. And I feel what we saw was sort of I guess you'd say it was a correct approach for that audience. I did make a video saying that I was worried that this report might have the same effect as the Condon report. And the funny part is that it actually did the complete opposite of the Condon report. It's really focused on growing, scientific research into the topic and trying to learn more about the topic. The Condon report did the complete opposite. So tonight, I hope you guys enjoyed that little intro. For those of you that grew up in the 90s, that's actually the Reading Rainbow kind of intro. I got inspired by that because I said, what I think we should do is sit down and read it, and we'll just read through it, because really everyone's talking about 9 pages, but it's only 6, because you got the title page and then I think the 2 appendix pages at the end. But before we do that, I want to thank you guys again, as always, for being here. Let me know if the audio sounds good, if everything looks good. Let me know how you guys are doing in the chat. I've been wanting to go live so much, and I haven't been able to at all. So for me to be here right now, I feel great. I feel good. There is something I want to share with you guys. Sorry, guys. As always, I had to clear my throat. I got a beautiful little gift in the mail from a dear friend of mine, the Signal. And he surprised me with a, UFO Twitter care package. The funny thing is it showed up yesterday, the day that the report dropped. It's just fate, right? Because he sent it a while back and it took some time to get here. Shipping in Argentina kind of sucks. It's kind of slow. They actually opened the envelope, which sucks because Signal had put hashtag UFO Twitter, I think hashtag end UAP secrecy on the back. So it was really cool. But I want to show you guys what he sent me, so you guys can see this. His work is amazing. And if you're not following the Signal, go follow the Signal. Check out his Redbubble shop. I just want to show this to you guys real quick before we get started. So here's the end UAP secrecy sticker, right? This came in the pack. And I didn't know what I was getting. This was like a surprise. So Signal, if you're watching, man, you're awesome, bro. And he's honestly somebody I talk to all the time, and we bounce ideas off each other. And it's kind of nice to not be like live, because I like to have like thought experiments when it comes to the phenomenon. I like to think about it, and not be afraid to talk about certain aspects of it. But check this out. Let me get that right there in the light. How's that? Look at the shine on that, man. The Tic Tac. That's pretty awesome, right? Another sticker. Of course, the beautiful logo he did for that UFO podcast. If you guys are not listening to that UFO podcast, you definitely should. Andy does some amazing work, and the signal's on there a lot. Make sure to check out that UFO podcast. But look at this sticker, guys. It's amazing. Like, look at the reflection on it. Of course, he sent me this one, which I love. This one. This is like the classic signal sticker that a lot of you have probably seen, and it's beautiful. Like the colors, I love the colors he used. It's real retro in my opinion, and it's amazing. And the last thing that came in the pack, sorry guys, but the last thing that came in the pack is the patch, the retro patch. And let me get it straight, man. The retro patch. And to be honest, I'm going to put this on something. I was thinking, you guys let me know what you will put this on, this patch. It's a little too big for my hat, but I could maybe get I could figure out a way to put it on a hat. But I'm thinking like a denim jacket. Let me see if I can get it in focus. Like a denim jacket, or I don't know if this could go on a leather jacket. That might be kind of cool too. So yeah, I'm going to save this and put it on something important to me that I'm going to rock. Whenever you guys see me, maybe we'll see each other one day in the future, and I'll be rocking this patch. You know what I mean? This is awesome. Signal, again, thank you, man. So make sure to check him out. I'm pretty sure his links, some kind of link of his is down in the description of this video. I also today had a great talk with Disclosure team with Vinny, and it was nice. It was refreshing. It was good. It was chill. We just sat back and talked. So if you're not following Disclosure team on YouTube, make sure to check them out. Check him out on Twitter. You'll find him. I got his link down to his channel in the description of this video. So a lot's been going on. I think a week ago, I was on the UFO Believers channel, another place you guys should check out. If you use Reddit, check out the UFO Believers community. They try to avoid trolling and negativity there. So go check it out. It's a safe place. Trust me. All right, let's get into the topic. First, I want to know what you guys thought of the report. So start sharing your ideas, your thoughts on the report in the comments. Victor Bob, what's up, man? Critical Conspiracist, how are you, man? Critical Conspiracist says, keep the art coming, John. Great chat with Vinny, too. Thank you, Critical Conspiracist. And the art will keep coming. I really could draw all day if I wanted to, but sometimes I got to like prioritize drawing or creating content or, you know, going live with you guys. And I'm trying to like level everything out again. It's like I lost balance, and it really threw me off my game a bit. But I was also working on different projects. So some of you might have seen that I launched the UFO Disclosure DAO, I think a week ago. And that's basically a decentralized autonomous organization that runs on the blockchain, and it's a nonprofit thing. So what it is the crypto space, the crypto community, people that have crypto can join the Disclosure DAO, become members of it. They can, well, basically, to become a member, you have to how would I say this? You have to like put some of your crypto into the community, right? Into the bank for the DAO. What that will do is grow the bank. And the idea behind it is that with that bank that you have there, researchers and different people that need money for disclosure or need to fund projects, or maybe we want to make sure that colleges have courses on UFOs and they need money for books or to get the course launched, or we want to get a book launch for somebody, a film made, whatever it may be, as long as it's dedicated to disclosure and the UFO topic or space and science, hopefully, right? I even included that in there to try to broaden our spectrum a little bit. They can request a grant, and the members of the DAO that have put their, certain, however much they want to put in, or basically whatever they put in there, they can then transfer it over to this researcher or project or whatever it is and fund it. Now, I only thought of this because people are always saying that we need funding, right? And I think that the crypto space is a place where we could get funding for these kinds of things. So yeah, that's just a basic rough thing. I promise to give a better presentation and take on it, but for me, this is all new too. The NFT space, I launched that too. So Martian tokens, and 10% of all the sales that get done on Martian tokens, so all the NFTs people buy there, 10% of that goes back to the UFO disclosure DAO. And yeah, let's see what happens. For now, I haven't been pushing it out too much, so I'm just letting you guys know, keeping everybody updated. And I can't wait to make another podcast episode. Hopefully I can turn this one into a podcast episode. But yeah. So great troll. Thanks for coming back, man. I'm so happy to see you guys in the chat. A lot of the people that have always been here, always joining in the discussion. Feels great to see you guys, man. Definitely. Even though I can't physically see you, I feel like I am looking at you and talking to you. So do me a favor, guys. Take the link to this video and share it on Twitter or on any social media platforms that you use. Let's see how many people we can get into the chat, as always. And yeah, let's kick it off. Let's start reading this report. Now you might be saying, hey, I read the report already. I gotta stop saying I guess I'm a little rusty. Basically, all of you have probably read the report. My idea with this is we read through it together, we pick it apart, we talk about what we want to talk about. You guys tell me what you think about certain parts of it. Also, this will be saved on YouTube as a a version of the report that's read out loud, and people can see what we talk about. And I think, who knows, maybe in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, some young mind is going to want to learn about the report. They can jump on here, find the link down in the description as well for the report, and they can hear our thoughts on it. So let me pull it up. This is the first time I've ever done this. So let me try. Yeah, all 6 pages. We're going to go through all 6 pages, guys. Slowly but surely. And I'm going to try my best to read it all clearly. Let me add this to the stream. All right, cool. So I can see it there. What I'm going to have to do is jump over to the, pretty sure I have to jump over to the other screen to move it around. So you guys can clearly see it. Let's actually make it bigger. How about that? Does that look good, guys? Let me know. How does it look? Does it look fine? If it looks good, we're going to kick it off. Sophie said, we got a page for each month we waited. That is so true. So here we go. So this is the first page. It's obviously the title page. You got the date there, 25th of June, 2021. Lou Elizondo today was on, I think it was Fox, and he said that this was a historic moment for the topic. And I think it is. I think people need to realize that for us, this was not much, but for the rest of the world and for Congress, it seems like it's putting some more focus onto this and helping push the UAP task force to where it needs to be, or the UAPTF. But let's jump into it. So, scope and assumptions. This preliminary report is provided by the U.S. Office of the Director of National Intelligence in response to the provision in Senate Report 116-233 accompanying the Intelligence Authorization Act for fiscal year 2021. That the DNI, in consultation with the Secretary of Defense, is to submit an intelligence assessment of the threat posted by Unidentified Aerial Phenomena, UAP, and the progress the Department of Defense Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force has made in understanding this threat. This report provides an overview for policymakers of the challenges associated with characterizing the potential threat posed by UAP, while also providing a means to develop relevant processes, policies, technologies, and trainings for the U.S. military and other U.S. government personnel, if and when they encounter a UAP, so as to enhance the intelligence community's ability to understand the threat. The director of the UAPTF is the accountable official for ensuring the timely collection and consolidation of data on UAP. The data set described in this report is currently limited primarily to U.S. government reporting of incidents occurring from November 2004 to March 2021. Data continues to be collected and analyzed. ODNI prepared this report for the Congressional Intelligence and Armed Services Committees, UAPTF, and the ODNI National Intelligence Manager for Aviation drafted this report with input from USD, DIA, FBI, NRO, NGA, NSA, Air Force, Army, Navy, ONI, DARPA, FAA, NOAA, NGA, ODNI, NIM, Emerging and Disruptive Technology, ODNI National Counterintelligence and Security Center, and ODNI National Intelligence Council. Assumptions. Various forms of sensors that register UAP generally operate correctly and capture enough real data that allow initial assessments, but some UAP may be attributed to sensor anomalies. Okay, so let me jump back to the stream because I'm looking at what I'm reading. I'm going to pop up here for a second with you guys. All right. So what do you guys think about that first page? There's a few things on that page that I think are interesting and important to talk about. The threat point of it is clear, right? They even say in the first paragraph, and the progress of the Department of Defense United Aerial Phenomenon Task Force has made in understanding this threat. They didn't put this possible threat. They put this threat. So that's something everyone's been a little worried about, that sort of speech, that sort of talk. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I understand the possibility of the phenomenon being a threat. If it crashes into a plane, or even, let's not even talk about abductions. Let's just keep it there. Then it seems like this report, the report is currently limited primarily to U.S. government reporting of incidents occurring from November 2004 to March 2021. So remember, November 2004, there are a lot of cases that I'm sure existed before November 2004. And right there, you're getting a taste of how this is sort of a limited discussion at this point. But it's the kind of discussion I think they need to have behind the walls, right? The suits need this kind of discussion. They need this to push it forward. And it's what's happening, which is great for all of us, because later this conversation will be taken more and more seriously. And it's literally been taken more and more seriously for, I'd say, a few years now. And in the last few months, this has escalated pretty quickly to getting this report that I never thought I'd see something like this and be reading something like this and having even what we're doing, the community here, and talking to you guys and discussing this, and people asking me, what is this about? People that aren't interested in this topic asking me what this report's about. I like how Zofa said, threat or hazard. That's true. Threat or hazard. It is a hazard. That's a good choice of words, Sofa. Very good. I like how VictorBot said to the phenomenon. I'm sorry, I clicked the wrong message there. VictorBot says to a hammer, the phenomenon is a nail. Then he said that's just what the DoD do. Definitely, that's what I'm trying to say. That's just what the DoD do, and I get it, and it's helping. It's helping for now. It seems like it's going to be something good, right? For now, it seems like they're going to start taking the topic more seriously. We're gonna see how this grows. You know, that's kind of been why I've been so quiet for, apart from everything I was telling you guys with the projects, and I've just been, my 9 to 5 has been driving me nuts, but I've been kind of quiet because I'm like, I felt like something like this was going to come out. I was a little worried about the approach they were going to take with it, the wording they were going to use, how it was going to get picked up. For now, what I've seen on the news, it seems like it's getting picked up well. And they are still, a lot of people are still saying, oh, look, they're not saying it's extraterrestrial, but they're not saying it's not. You know, let's see what you guys are saying. So Chad says, for science sake, I'd like to see all the experiencers meet up at Skinwalker Ranch and see what unfolds. That would be crazy, man. That's not a bad idea. I think a lot of experiencers should communicate with experiencers and just see what happens, you know, what you could learn from another experiencer. Definitely. It's important. Let's see. VictorBot says, yeah, no thanks. That's why I don't think experiencers should have to engage with the broader UFO community. That's strange. Victor, why don't you think experiencers should have to engage with the broader UFO community? I really do think that our biggest flaw at this moment is not taking experiencers seriously. And I understand that the conversation that we're having right now is not that kind of conversation. Everyone's like, wait, but first you got to say this. First you have to approach it this way because you don't want to scare people off. Look, that doesn't mean that we here in the community can't have that conversation. And I think we should still continue to have those kinds of conversations openly and clearly. Seeing as UFOs are real, right? Seeing as UAP are real, we should talk about the occupants and what they do and not worry too much about, because look, the report's out. The focus is on it. Now what we have to do is continue the discussion and talk about maybe what they're afraid to talk about. I think that's also something we should not forget. You know, if it wasn't for people stepping outside of their comfort zones and talking about this topic the way they did for years, I don't think this would be where it's at right now. So don't forget that and continue to break barriers, break down walls, step outside the box. It's very important. All right, guys. So let's get back into the report. So that's my first take on that first page. The various assumptions part at the bottom, it talks about the sensors. I think I understand what they're saying there. It makes sense, right? Obviously, there could be sensor anomalies. Not every UAP is a UAP. Not every UFO is a UFO, right? So that makes sense. Then there's a big gap at the bottom of the page. Yesterday, I was saying, I think it was yesterday, I was on a Twitter session with Danny Silva's Twitter session, and he asked me to talk about this. And my first thought on it was like, this is like shorter than a book report I wrote in high school. Like, but I get it. It is like, it's basically a book report. It's like they're just trying to make people that, especially these kinds of people, don't have much time. So I guess this level of report, actually, I'm wrong. I'm mixing it up because this is the unclassified version of the report. People have been talking about the classified version of the report. And I've heard some words, you know, some whispers in the hallway saying that it could be like way more pages with way more information, which I think would make sense. And for now, I guess this is the unclassified version for the normies out there that don't look into this topic. I think it's fine. It'll be easy for them to digest at the moment, but let's keep going. So this is page 3. And this is the executive summary. And it says, the limited amount of high quality reporting on unidentified aerial phenomena on UAP hampers our ability to draw firm conclusions about the nature or intent of UAP. That's interesting. That is interesting. Let me do something here because you guys can't see this, and I think everyone should be able to see this at least. All right, so I'm going to read that again because that sentence is interesting. The limited amount of high quality reporting on unidentified aerial phenomena on UAP hampers our ability to draw firm conclusions about the nature or intent of UAP. I'm sure there's some researchers out there that read that and were like, what? The limited amount of high quality reporting. But it's not what they're saying. They're saying they don't have people reporting this. At least high quality. I mean, let's read further. The Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force considered a range of information on UAP described in U.S. military and IC intelligence community reporting, but because the reporting lacks sufficient specificity, ultimately recognized that a unique, tailored reporting process was required to provide sufficient data for analysis of a UAP event, basically. And that's great. That's true. They should have a process and a clear process. So off the bat, if you didn't read that all the way through and you just read the beginning, you'd be like, what are they talking about? High quality reporting. Makes perfect sense. Yes, they do need some sort of reporting process. Then you got 2 bullet points. First bullet point, as a result, the UAPTF concentrated its review on reports that occurred between 2004 and 2021. Again, a limited window of time. The majority of which are a result of this new tailored process to better capture UAP events through formalized reporting. Okay, that sounds good. Most of the UAP reported probably do represent physical objects, given that a majority of UAP were registered across multiple sensors. So there you've got something. UAP were registered across multiple sensors to include radar, infrared, electro-optical, weapon seekers, and visual observation. All right, so we're getting good. I mean, these are some pretty good points. In a limited number of incidents, UAP reportedly appeared to exhibit unusual flight characteristics. I like how they said in a limited number of incidents. These observations could be the result of sensor errors, spoofing, or observer misperception and require additional rigorous analysis. Okay, I get it. They need more analysis. The observer misperception is what kind of bugs me. I wonder if any of the pilots that came out that saw the Tic Tac got a little bothered by that, because there it seems like they're referring to the first thing I think of when they think of observer misperception are all the people that are coming out to speak about this. But they're not naming any names or pointing any fingers. But I'm just telling you what I'm getting from it, right? There are probably multiple types of UAP requiring different explanations based on the range of appearances and behaviors described in the available reporting. Multiple types of UAP. That's interesting. Our analysis of the data supports the construct that if and when individual UAP incidents are resolved, they will fall into one of 5 potential explanatory categories. I read this and I was like, wait, what? Airborne clutter. Okay, I get it. Natural atmospheric phenomenon. All right. U.S. government or U.S. industry developed or developmental programs. Foreign adversary systems. And a catch call, other bin. Other bin. That's interesting. And they put the word bin there. Like they could have literally put the word bin behind everything else. UAP clearly pose a safety of flight issue and may pose a challenge to U.S. national security. They say UAP clearly pose a safety of flight issue. So and may pose a challenge to U.S. national security. So the may pose a challenge seems kind of like they're watching what they're saying there. Give me a sec. I'm going to take a sip of water. All right. I never thought I'd be reading this out loud with everybody, but I thought of it today and I was like, why not? Let's talk about it. All right. So safety concerns primarily center on aviators contending with an increasingly cluttered air domain. Okay. UAP would also represent a national security challenge if they are foreign adversary collection platforms or provide evidence a potential adversary has developed either a breakthrough or disruptive technology. Okay. What doesn't make sense about this argument always for me is, let me know if you guys feel the same way. It's just, if you've really looked into this topic, you'll know that it seems like UAP, UFOs, whatever you guys want to call them. I still call them UFOs a lot. You've been around for a very long time. So the idea that a adversary leapfrogged the United States or some human somewhere created some technology like this and it's just been hidden for all these years, I think is a bit ridiculous. It's almost crazier to believe that than to believe in UFOs, right? It's almost crazier to believe that some government leapfrogged everyone and has these craft that we've seen, that have the 5 observables, these kinds of craft. And they've just kept it hidden for all these years. It's like, it just seems a little ridiculous to me, at least. So last part here says consistent consolidation of reports from across the federal government, standardized reporting, increased collection and analysis, and a streamlined process for screening all such reports against a broad range of relevant U.S. government data will allow for more sophisticated analysis of UAP that is likely to deepen our understanding. Some of these steps are resource intensive and would require additional investment. So here it seems like this is like some of the good parts of this. They want to keep researching this. They want to, they want to look at it, take a scientific approach to it to sort of get more information on what they're seeing, which I think is good. Right. And we know that this report actually did very well. Like if you've been looking at the media and you've been looking at what's been going on, it actually did really make some waves. So let me jump back to the live chat, see what you guys are talking about, see what's going on. Give me a sec. All right. Hey, Ryan, what's up, man? Ryan said, hi, all. I'm sure Undead Gaucho will get to it. It's pretty sweet. Thanks, man. I hope so. I'm sure you could add so much of a good conversation. You could definitely add to this conversation. I want to hear everyone's thoughts on this. Like I did hear a few people talk about it. I thought some people were really happy about it. Some people hated it. Some people thought, why doesn't the government come out and just tell us the truth? Because the government was never going to come out and tell us the truth. The government doesn't tell us the truth. That's the way it goes. It does. The government tells you what it thinks it needs to tell you. And these conversations, right, that we're seeing here, I'm trying to focus. These conversations that we're seeing here, or this approach, it's like watered down on purpose because that's just the way the government is. Imagine if the government ever told us fully 100% the truth, especially with a topic like this. It's not the way it's going to be. So it's going to be a step-by-step process. The DOD memo. I did see the DOD memo, dude. Ryan just said the DOD memo that came after this. And I think if I can, what I can do is share it with you guys. But let me just get through this real quick because I think there's juicy stuff. Even in this 6-page report, there's some juicy stuff, right? So let's get back into it. And again, this is for like people that haven't read this, or maybe in 5 years, some kid's going to want to know about this. We might as well talk about it. We might as well read it out and let them know kind of what was going on with this. And at the end, I think I do have a copy of the DoD memo, if I'm not mistaken. I think I've got one saved on the computer so I can pull it up. And all right, so this is the next page, fourth page. Available reporting largely inconclusive. All right. Limited data leaves most UAP unexplained. Okay, so that means most UAP are still unexplained. All right. Limited data and inconsistency in reporting are key challenges to evaluating UAP. No standardized reporting mechanism existed until the Navy established one in March 2019. The Air Force subsequently adopted that mechanism in November 2020, but it remains limited to U.S. government reporting, or USG reporting is what it says. The UAPTF regularly heard anecdotally during its research about other observations that occurred, but which were never captured in formal or informal reporting by those observers. Okay. After carefully considering this information, the UAPTF focused on reports that involved UAP, largely witnessed firsthand by military aviators, and that were collected from systems we consider to be reliable. Okay. These reports described incidents that occurred between 2004 and 2021. Again, with 2004 and 2021. They're just reminding me they got a limited window. With a majority coming in the last 2 years, as the new reporting mechanism became better known to military aviation community, or to the military aviation community. We were able to identify one reported UAP with high confidence. Okay. In that case, we identified the object as a large deflating balloon. Dude, what is it with the balloons, man? Can someone tell me, please? Can someone please tell me, what is it with the balloons? These balloons have haunted the UFO topic for so many years. It is ridiculous. I'm just like, well, I'm glad that they, debunked whatever they were seeing, or they figured out what it was. So it was a deflating balloon. But it happens. It totally happens. I forget where it happened, but I think it was like Indonesia. There was a village in Indonesia that thought they were seeing a UFO, and it was a deflating balloon that was coming down. I think it might have been Indonesia, and I think it also happened in Japan. There was like a weather balloon flying around, and people thought it was a UFO, and it was actually like a straight up balloon. And Victor Bot says there's a lot of balloons out there. There are definitely a lot of balloons out there. It's a pollution problem, though. No, but there are a lot of balloons out there. That's for sure. So it makes sense, but I'm just saying, it's just, I guess I'm just, I don't want to hear about balloons anymore. But I get it. It makes sense. But here's the really good part, right? So I'm talking about the balloons, and right under is a really good part. So I'm going to say it again. In that case, this is basically the one they identified. We identified the object as a large deflating balloon. Okay. The others remained unexplained. It says 144 reports originated from U.S. government sources. Of these, 80 reports involved observation with multiple sensors. Most reports described UAP as objects that interrupted pre-planned training or other military activity. Okay, objects. So they're physical craft, it seems like, right? Because there's always that argument, physical, non-physical. Here it seems like they're talking about physical craft, or something physical. A physical UAP, better said. UAP collection challenges. Socio-cultural stigmas and sensor limitations remain obstacles to collecting data on UAP. Although some technical challenges, such as how to appropriately filter out radar clutter to ensure safety of flight for military and civilian aircraft, are longstanding in the aviation community, while others are unique to the UAP problem set. Narratives from aviators in the operational community and analysts from the military and IC describe I'm gonna mess this word up. Disparagement is what it says. Sorry, associated with observing UAP, reporting it, or attempting to discuss it with colleagues. Okay, so this is like the stigma part. Although the effects of these stigmas have lessened as senior members of the scientific, policy, military, and intelligence communities engage on the topic seriously in public, reputational risk may keep many observers silent, complicating scientific pursuit of the topic. That's very true. So here you have them literally talking about the stigma and kind of how they need to, face this challenge and fix it. And that's good, right? So everyone's talking about 9-page report with nothing in it, but you're getting these kinds of little tidbits in it, these little nuggets of truth and gold that you just need to sit down and do what we're doing right now. Once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. I think I've read this this is my 4th time already. And you see it, right? The sensors mounted on U.S. military platforms are typically designed to fulfill specific missions. As a result, those sensors are not generally suited for identifying UAP. Okay, so here what I'm thinking, correct me guys in the chat if I'm wrong, but I think they're saying maybe they need sensors for identifying just UAP. So maybe they need to create some new sensors, right? And mount them on their planes or whatever. Or they're just clarifying that the sensors that are mounted on U.S. military platforms aren't good enough, really. Typically, or they're not suited. It's basically what it says, right? Sensor vantage points, and the numbers of sensors concurrently observing an object play substantial roles in distinguishing UAP from known objects and determining whether a UAP demonstrates breakthrough aerospace capabilities. Optical sensors have the benefit of providing some insight into relative size, shape, and structure. Radio frequency sensors provide more accurate velocity and range information. All right. So it's nice to see them pointing out the challenges, talking about that openly. The stigma part is probably my favorite part of that whole section there, because stigma, we break it down. It's what we do here. It's what we do in this community. We're trying to stop the stigma. We're trying to make people talk about this. We want this topic to be open and accepted by everyone. And it's going to need to be accepted by, these trained observers in the military and pilots and all this and these kinds of people. It's just going to strengthen our case, right? For them to accept that. So I see Bushibatos here. Bushibato says, "Hey there, people. What's up, man?" Victor Bot says, "Stigma Busters." Stigma Busters. Ghostbusters is coming out, I think, in July. So soon. Can't wait to see it. I think it's going to be good. Did you guys know? I think the guy that's making the new Ghostbusters is the son of the guy that created the original Ghostbusters films. It's kind of interesting. Let's get back to this, though. Let's get back to what we were talking about before I get too sidetracked. And we're almost done, anyways, with reading this. I'm sorry if I am messing up on some words. I can't believe I can read this without messing up more words. When I read it, when you read it to yourself, it's different when you're trying to pronounce everything. All right, so let's see. Next part is, let me bring it back up. I keep forgetting to bring it back up before I jump over to the document. All right, so next part is, but some potential patterns do emerge. So that's good. We're seeing some kind of patterns. Although there was a wide variability in the reports and the data set is currently too limited to allow for detailed trend or pattern analysis, There was some clustering of UAP observations regarding shape, size, and particularly propulsion. UAP sightings also tended to cluster around U.S. training and testing grounds, but we assess that this may result from a collection bias as a result of focused attention, greater numbers of the latest generation sensors operating in those areas, unit expectations, and guidance to report anomalies. Okay. I thought that was interesting. What did you guys think about that? I mean, that kind of makes sense, right? Sofa says there should be a job called trained observers who are trained to watch and identify and record everything they see in the sky. That's true. There should be a job called trained observers. 100%. That's smart, Sofa. I think what they're saying here, though, is it's weird because it's like I've thought about that in the past. I'm surprised they're saying that. But it kind of makes sense, right? Because if you're on a vessel in the ocean, you're paying attention to the sky. If you're walking down the street, not everyone's looking up at the sky, you know. So also the idea that they have a greater number of the latest generation sensors operating in those areas, that's also very logical, right? It's not like we all have sensors operating in our backyards, right? Or that we use those kinds of things. So it makes a little sense. It says, and a handful of UAP appeared to demonstrate advanced technology. Okay. In 18 incidents described in 21 reports, observers reported unusual UAP movement patterns or flight characteristics. That's interesting. Some UAP appear to remain stationary in winds aloft, move against the wind, maneuver abruptly, or move at a considerable speed without discernible means of propulsion. In a small number of cases, military aircraft systems processed radio frequency energy associated with a UAP sighting. The UAPTF holds a small amount of data that appear to show UAP demonstrating acceleration or a degree of signature management. Additional rigorous analysis are necessary by multiple teams or groups of technical experts to determine the nature and validity of these. I would say of this data, but it says of these data. I guess because it's multiple, right? We are conducting further analysis to determine if breakthrough technologies were demonstrated. UAP probably lack a single explanation. That's something else we talk about in the community. You know, it's not one phenomenon, it's multiple phenomenon that could be occurring. And this is not what they're saying, but there's all these little parts of this that remind me of sort of what we talk about, even though that's not what they're saying. But let's get back into reading this. The UAP documented in this limited data set demonstrate an array of aerial behaviors, reinforcing the possibility there are multiple types of UAP requiring different explanations. Our analysis of the data supports the construct that if and when individual UAP incidents are resolved, they will fall into one of the 5 potential explanatory categories. Did I already read this? No. I feel like I already read this part, but no. It's just repeating kind of what we saw up above. Now I lost my place. Here we go. 5 potential categories: airborne clutter, natural atmospheric phenomenon, U.S. government or industry development programs, foreign adversary systems, and a catch call other bin. I don't like that other bin. I don't know if that bothered you guys. With the expectation of the one instance where we determined with high confidence that the reported UAP was airborne clutter, specifically a deflating balloon, we currently lack sufficient information in our data set to attribute incidents to specific explanations. Okay. Airborne clutter. These objects include birds, balloons, birds. Oh, birds. Seagulls, man. Seagulls, they haunt us. Balloons, recreational, unmanned aerial vehicles, UAV, or airborne debris like plastic bags, plastic bags. This part here was just hard for me to read. When I was a kid, I don't know if you guys used to do this. I used to make myself a little ghetto kite, you know? I'd take a plastic bag. I was polluting and I didn't even realize. I was too little to know what I was doing. I would take a plastic bag and like fill it up with air, like in the wind, and I would just like let it fly. That's horrible for the environment. And I probably killed a million turtles while doing that. And I'm sorry, but I was super small and I had no idea. I don't do that anymore. But I just, when they brought up plastic bags, I was like, you know what? Maybe when I was doing, you know, my little ghetto kites with my little plastic bags, I was causing some UAP events to occur. You never know, right? All right, let's see. Birds, low. The great troll said birds, low. Trust me, birds, man. Seagulls. We can't escape these birds, man. All right. I like how Sophia says China and Russia weren't flying around in Roman times, anyways. Just talking with Great Troll there. Let's see what Bushi Bato says. I like that it may allude to the others. Yeah, I was bringing that up. I brought that up the last 2 days. Tom DeLong was talking about the others, and it's interesting how it says others. They could have used multiple different kinds of words because there's a lot of word spaghetti up in this document, right? They're talking about birds and plastic bags, and they use this very specific words, others. And I like how they put the word bin behind it, you know, like trash bin. So it's almost like, I don't know, you know, it's just the way words are used purposely, especially in these kinds of documents. But let's see. Let me see. How do I seagulls? Somebody said seagulls. Cookie Monster, what's up, man? He said seagulls, a flock of them, up swarming the greatest military in the world. Yeah, man. There's an ambulance coming by. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but let's jump back into this because we're almost done. Almost done, guys. All right, so we're on plastic bags that muddle a scene and affect an operator's ability to identify true targets such as enemy aircraft. That's pretty crazy, man, that a plastic bag could muddle a scene and affect an operator's ability to identify a real target. Like, that's kind of wild to think about. I'm not saying it can't. I'm saying it's kind of wild to think about. Natural atmospheric phenomenon. Natural atmospheric phenomenon includes ice crystals. That's interesting, right? Ice crystals, moisture, thermal fluctuations that may register on some infrared and radar systems. U.S. government or industry developmental programs. Okay. Some UAP observations could be attributed to developments and classified programs by U.S. entities. We are unable to confirm, however, that these systems accounted for any of the UAP reports we collected. Okay, they are unable to confirm. All right. Foreign adversary systems. Some UAP may be technologies deployed by China, Russia, another nation, or a non-governmental entity. That's interesting. The non-governmental entity, right? Some mad scientists out there. And other. Here we got. We're getting to the others. The others, guys. All right. Other. Although most of the UAP described in our data set probably remain unidentified due to limited data or challenges to collect, processing, or analysis, we may require additional scientific knowledge to successfully collect on, analyze, and characterize some of them. We would group such objects in this category pending scientific advances that allowed us to better understand them. Pending scientific advances. That sounds almost like, how do you explain an alien phenomenon within the parameters of human science, right? The UAPTF intends to focus additional analysis on the small number of cases where UAP appeared to display unusual flight characteristics or signature management. Okay. UAP threaten flight safety and possibly national security. Possibly. There they go, right? National security threats. UAP pose a hazard to safety of flight and could pose a broader danger if some instances represent sophisticated collection against U.S. military activities by foreign governments or demonstrate a breakthrough aerospace technology by a potential adversary. All right. Ongoing airspace concerns. When aviators encounter safety hazards, they are required to report these concerns. Depending on the location, volume, and behavior of hazards during incursions on ranges, pilots may, I think it says, cease their tests and or training and land their aircraft, which has a deterrent effect on reporting. The UAPTF has 11 reports of documented instances in which pilots reported near misses with UAP. You know what the interesting part about this is? Is some of this stuff, right, in this report kind of gets repeated and thrown around once or twice. That's why a second ago I was like, wait, did I already read this? No, I didn't. But it does get like kind of recycled and pushed through this document. It's like if we were talking about book reports earlier. It's like if you were using the same context that you were talking about earlier in the report to fill up a few more pages or some space that you needed. But then they have these little gold pieces, man, these little chunks of interesting information like this. Bullet point here. The UAPTF has 11 reports of documented instances in which pilots reported near misses with the UAP. All right. And then we got potential national security challenges. We currently lack data to indicate any UAP are part of a foreign collection program or indicative of a major technological advancement by a potential adversary. We continue to monitor for evidence of such programs, given the counterintelligence challenge they would pose, particularly as some UAP have been detected near military facilities or by aircraft carrying the U.S. government's most advanced sensor systems. All right. So there, if you read between the lines, they're basically telling you that it's not, at this moment, they don't have any evidence to prove that it's foreign adversaries, right? Clearly. Explaining UAP will require analytic collection and resource investment. This is the good part, right? So at least we know that all this, some of this jargon and some of these nuggets of awesomeness in this report are all leading up to this idea of, requiring more resources so they can collect more data and further the search, figure out what's really going on. Standardize the reporting, consolidate the data, and deepen the analysis. Boom, right there. In line with the provisions of Senate Report 116-233, accompanying the IAA for fiscal year 2021, the UAPTF's long-term goal is to widen the scope of its works to include additional UAP events documented by a broader swath of U.S. government personnel and technical systems in its analysis. As the data set increases, the UAPTF's ability to employ data analytics to detect trends will also improve. The initial focus will be to employ artificial intelligence / machine learning algorithms, AI, to cluster and recognize similarities and patterns and features of the data points. That's interesting. As the database accumulates information from known aerial objects such as weather balloons, high altitude or super pressure balloons, and wildlife, machine learning can add efficiency by pre-assessing UAP reports to see if those recorded match similar events already in the database. Then we got the bullet. The UAPTF has begun to develop interagency analytical and processing workflows to ensure both collections and analysis will be well informed and coordinated. And boys and girls, I think, oh, look, there is actually one more page. All right, let's read this last page and then we're done. And we'll just continue to discuss it. The majority of UAP data is from U.S. Navy reporting but efforts are underway to standardize the incident reporting across the U.S. military services and other government agencies to ensure relevant data is captured with respect to particular incidents and any U.S. activities that might be relevant. The UAPTF is currently working to acquire additional reporting, including from the U.S. Air Force, and has begun receiving data from the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA. Then we got 3 bullets here. It says, although the U.S. Air Force or USAF data collection has been limited historically, the USAF began a 6-month pilot program in November 2020 to collect the most likely areas to encounter UAP. Oh, that's interesting, man. Isn't it? Think about it. They might already know where the most, which areas are really actually hotspots. All right, so let me pick up where I left off. It says, in November 2020 to collect the most likely areas to encounter UAP, and is evaluating how to normalize future collection, reporting, and analysis across the entire Air Force. Cool. The FAA captures data related to the UAP during the normal course of managing air traffic operations. The FAA generally ingests this data when pilots and other airspace users report unusual or unexpected events to the FAA's air traffic organization. Perfect. In addition, the FAA continuously monitors its systems for anomalies, generating additional information that may be of use to the UAPTF. The FAA is able to isolate data of interest to the UAPTF and make it available. The FAA has a robust and effective outreach program that can help the UAPTF reach members of the aviation community to highlight the importance of reporting UAP. That's good. That sounds pretty good, right? Expand collection. The UAPTF is looking for novel ways to increase collection of UAP cluster areas. So we used to call them UFO hotspots, but here they're using this term UAP cluster areas. When U.S. forces are not present, as a way to baseline standard UAP activity and mitigate the collection bias in the data set. One proposal is to use advanced algorithms to search for historical data captured and stored by radars. The UAPTF also plans to update its current interagency UAP collection strategy in order to bring to bear relevant collection platforms and methods from the DoD and the IC. Increase investments in research and development. Perfect. The UAPTF has indicated that additional funding for research and development could further the future study of the topic laid out in this report, or topics. Such investments should be guided by a UAP collection strategy, UAP R&D technical roadmap, and UAP program plan. Okay, now we're done. We're in the appendix. You got the definition of the key terms, right? You got UAP, UAP event, UAP incident, UAP report. I like how they put UAP report there, right here. They're like, just in case. Just in case you guys didn't get it. We talked about it a bunch of times. So yeah, I wanted to read this over with you guys and just talk about it, really, because at the end of it all, when you read it 3 or 4 times, and even this time while I was reading with you guys, I'm like, oh, yeah, interesting, cool, good. Because I was saying that to myself, but now I feel like I need to point that out and say that to you guys so you guys can hear sort of where my mind is at with it, right? If you guys want to read it for yourself, if you haven't, or you want to share it with somebody, just know the link to the PDF is down in the description of this video, and you can just copy it and send it to somebody. Say, hey, check this out, give it a read. I think that document, you could send it literally to anyone, and if they sit down and really read through it, they're going to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But when you step out of it, the one thing you take away from it is that they are acquiring funding to further research UAPs, and the topic is being taken seriously. It's continuing the process that, Lou Elizondo, Chris Mellon, the whole UFO community, all of us have been working on trying to destigmatize this topic, discuss it, push it forward. I know that we are the, the worker bees, and they're the head honchos, kind of standing there in the, in the forefront, pushing it all out to the world. But we are doing our part. And this is a good example of it. So it was a historic event. Lots of people were angry about the report. The only thing that caught me off guard was the size of the report, but I really wasn't expecting too much. I wasn't expecting to see alien bodies or crashed UFOs in that report. I wasn't expecting it to say, yes, UFOs are real and they've been real. No. Just the idea that this is actually happening and it continues to happen. I'm saying this conversation since 2017, since we found out about ATIP, has changed completely. Before, I'll tell you, as somebody that's been looking at this topic for at least 15 years, right? When I was a teenager, like even Project Blue Book and different UFO, like different projects like that were considered like kind of a conspiracy theory, right? I think Project Blue Book, like you had to really look into the topic to understand. ATIP was like all over the news. That's what I'm trying to say. Like we're in a point where this discussion is so open and broad today. It's still on the news. It's been on the news back to back to back to back to back to back to back for months. Now, if you don't see that as disclosure, some form of disclosure, I'm sorry. And the difference between now and the flaps of media and the flaps of conversations that have happened in the past is that now we have the internet. Guys, I think I'm going to sneeze. It's cold outside. It's freezing and the air conditioner's on. It's hot. And I kept going outside today, and I don't know if I'm like getting a runny nose, but yeah. I see Ryan's talking to Bushibato. Let me see. Let's see what the question was. Bushibato says, I'm curious how Deputy Secretary of Defense memo will affect or influence the unfolding of the reactions and measures, realizations happening right now on Capitol Hill. That is a good question. And I see Ryan was actually responding there. He said, Bushibato, good question. I'm really interested to start hearing remarks by Congress members. I also hope stuff from classified reports get leaked. We were all thinking the same thing, man. I'm thinking, I hope something gets leaked. But to be honest, I feel like where we are right now, this conversation is like seriously being had, and just knowing that UFOs are real, it should lead us all on a adventure to try to figure out what this is and not stop. Nobody should wait for answers from Congress or the government or whatever. We're going to have to find it ourselves because they're going to only talk about certain things to certain extents. And then if things get leaked or put out there, they could always just say, well, no, that's not a legitimate case, or we have an explanation for it. We know that Hynek regretted talking about swamp gas, we know that these kinds of things existed. So the most important part, I keep saying this, is the conversation, is the stigma, is getting rid of that, tuning it down and letting the kids of the future and the young minds of the future come into a world where they know 100% that this topic exists and they understand maybe something about the relationship that this phenomenon has with us, right? Hopefully more funding, more serious research, maybe the academic community taking this topic seriously will really catapult it to somewhere we haven't seen it before. Because right now it is definitely somewhere we haven't seen it before. I know there's a lot of old heads in this space. I consider myself an older head. I'm sure there's young guys out there that are joining, or young men and women that are joining this search. And they've got a lot to learn. And it is difficult for a lot of the older researchers to be seeing this kind of stuff happen. the relationship a lot of us have with the phenomenon, what we've learned from sort of our experiences throughout life looking into this topic, it's an unhealthy one. It's almost like dating a girl and just getting tricked and tricked and tricked and tricked and getting still sticking with her for some reason, you know, because you just want to figure out what's going on. So I really do think we got to take this as a win completely. And if you turn on the news, like my biggest worry when I read that was like, are people really going to read this all the way through? It's short. Are they going to see the beautiful parts of this? Are they going to see these little tidbits of information just sprinkled through here? Are they going to realize when they keep repeating things and then dropping something in the middle? And you're like, wait, the only important thing I really cared about was this bullet right here, because the rest you guys just repeated what was on page 4 again. So I was a little worried about that. But then when I saw the news, I saw Lou out there talking about it, and he really did a great job expressing himself and saying, this is a historic moment. And I think that's what we needed, was somebody out on the news saying this is a historic moment, so that the media starts spreading that word around. Even if it wasn't the most historic moment we've ever had, right? Even I feel like the 60 minutes, this is crazy, but I was thinking about that this morning. Sorry. I feel like the 60 minutes interview, tell me if you guys feel the same way, kind of blew up, and it was like just so much media attention around it. And this report has a lot of media attention around it, don't get me wrong, but the 60 minutes thing was like an avalanche, It was like you couldn't avoid it. Like my family was calling me. Nobody called me about the UAP report. I think one person asked me on Facebook when they saw the DOD memo. They were like, what is this? So let me see if I've got that DOD memo. I think I have it. Totally. I downloaded it before we started talking, so we could look at that too. Let's see. Let me try to add it in here. By the way, if you guys are thinking of going live or doing anything like this, definitely get StreamYard. Definitely. I was using OBS for so long, and it drove me crazy, man. Drove me mad trying to get it like, let's see. Maybe I'll stop sharing and I can share it again. Let's see. Share screen. Because I think I've got it open too. Window right here. Oh, yeah, I do have it open. Cool. All right. Let's share this. Let's see how this looks. I'm going to share it. All right. So I think this is what Ryan was pointing out to me. Unfortunately, I don't have a bigger version of that. Let me see if I can read it for you guys. So this obviously came out after the report. So the Deputy Secretary of Defense, there's his 1010 Defense, Pentagon, Washington, D.C., whatever, some numbers at the top. June 25th, 2021. Memorandum for senior Pentagon leadership, commanders of the Combatant Commands, Defense Agency, and DoD Field Activity Directors. Okay. Subject, Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Assessments. A recent report from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, ODNI, highlights the current challenges associated with assessing unidentified aerial phenomenon, UAP, occurring on or near DoD training ranges and installations. It is critical that the United States maintain operations security and safety at DoD ranges. To this end, it is equally critical that all U.S. military air crews or government personnel report whenever aircraft or other devices interfere with military training. I love how they're not talking about birds or plastic bags here. Do you see how quickly this conversation is shifting and changing? I don't see any remarks about paper bags or birds, so I could be wrong. Let's keep going. This includes the observation and reporting of UAPs. The report also confirmed that the scope of UAP activity expands significantly beyond the purview of the Secretary of the Navy, who heads the Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force, and suggests process improvements to ensure timely collection of consistent data on UAP, consistent with these recommendations, and to improve partnership with the ODNI and other non-DoD organizations. I direct the office of the Under Security of Defense for Intelligence and Security to develop a plan to formalize the mission currently performed by the UAPTF. The mission, guys, the mission. The plan should, I'm assuming it should say should be, but the plan should. 1, establish procedures to synchronize collection, reporting, and analysis on the UAP problem set. Again, pay attention to the words, man. The UAP problem set, okay? And to establish recommendations for securing military tests and training ranges. Okay, so now they're trying to secure the test and training ranges. 2, identify requirements for the establishment and operation of the new activity to include the organizational alignment, resources, and staffing required, as well as any necessary authorities and a timeline for implementation. 3, be developed in coordination with the principal staff assistants, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the secretaries of the military department, and the commanders of the combatant commands, and with the DNI and other relevant interagency partners. All members of the department will utilize these processes to ensure that the UAPTF or its follow-on activity has reports of UAP observations within 2 weeks of an occurrence. Has reports of a UAP observation within 2 weeks of an occurrence. All right, so I mean, all around the board, guys. I'm going to close that. Stop sharing. Oh. All right, I'm back. I'm still here. Let me get back to the comments. All right, there's Ryan says, yes, the memo is the future of UAP and government. Again, I agree the people need to continue their work, but this is a start to have permanent UAP collection department. Definitely. What fascinates me about this all, Ryan, too, is that, like, the crazy part for me about all this is, like, it didn't already exist. You know, so I'm happy that this is where we're headed. What the other thing I think we need to think about is what we were talking about earlier with government, the transparency. I need some water. Wait. Sorry. The transparency, right? Like, how much of the information they get are they really going to release to the public? So let's see where it goes. But for sure, it just seems like a win all across the board. I love how you say this, Ryan, and reports must be made within 2 weeks of the incident. Love that. Yeah, definitely. There were some very clear words in that memo, man. So, guys, pat yourselves on the back. Tip your hat to Lou Elizondo, Chris Mellon, what TTSA did, what everyone's doing. This whole conversation is very serious. It's being taken serious. You just literally heard me read two very important, the memo and the report. The memo stemmed from the report, so you see that action is being taken. This conversation is growing. This topic is being taken to a new level. And trust me that the media is going to continue to push on this and try to talk about this, because people are, most people aren't taking this, it's not for an adversary, but it's also, not our technology, but it's not extraterrestrial. I feel like the more people think about that idea, that concept, they're starting to say, like, well, wait, then what is it? Like, tell us what it is. What do you guys think it is? At least that's what they're asking, right? Oh, Diogo. Diogo says, what's up, Diogo, man? It's great to see you in here again. He says, nice. I like the comments showing on the screen thingy. Congrats. Well, you know what? I want to thank my Patreons. If it wasn't for you guys, I would have never started using StreamYard. Oh, man, it changed my life. And compared to OBS, it's just way easier to use. I think the only thing that's holding me back now is like my setup. I got the coffee table. I got a box on top of the coffee table. I got my PC. I got the camera right here. Oh, and I'm sitting on this couch. Like I need like a setup, like a chair or something, at least. Something. I don't know. Leandro, he says, un saludo, amigo, desde Argentina. That's my friend, actually. Un saludo, bro. Estamos los dos en Argentina, man. Natty Wallace says, random government words generator. Look, guys, I honestly think we couldn't ask for more in this situation. It's playing out the way it needs to play out. Disclosure is a process, and it's literally happening. And we're watching it happen. And we're taking part in it. We're not just watching it. We are part of that movement. We're helping kill the stigma. With these conversations, tell me that more people haven't been coming up to you and talking to you about this topic. Tell me that more people haven't been open to ask you questions about it. I'm sure Ryan knows what I'm talking about. I'm sure people have, people he never thought would ask him about this topic have asked him about this topic. Even my father, who's very, he's show me the proof, show me the evidence kind of guy. If I don't touch it or feel it, I don't think it's real, that kind of person. We were talking about the report and he was, he started saying, well, what do they think it is? If it's not, unidentified, if it's not theirs and it's not Russia or China, how is it not extraterrestrials? Now, I think this is something I brought up today on Disclosure Team's channel, on Vinny's channel. I said, we call this topic alien or extraterrestrial, whatever, right? But we use this word alien a lot. And if you believe what I believe, I think this phenomenon has been interacting with us throughout history. If you just pay attention, you could see it. So how long does something have to be, how long does something have to be on Earth until it's no longer considered alien? Just think about it for a minute. We've been interacting with this topic for like 70 plus years. And I'm telling you, I think it stretches way back, right? So is it alien? Is it really alien? Or is it just as alien to this planet as we are? That's my question that I have for you guys. Artificial intelligence said maybe they're Nazis. They're not Nazis, trust me. All right, guys. So we've been going for an hour and a half. I got to say, definitely, I am so happy to see you guys in the live chat. Ryan, thank you for being here, man. If you guys aren't listening to Ryan's podcast, Somewhere in the Skies, or checking out his channel, make sure to go support Ryan Sprague. He's a badass. He's awesome. Tim F says, my brother was always a skeptic, and after the 60-minute thing came out, he called me up and started asking me all kinds of stuff. Well, exactly, man. And that's what we're here for. And that's the most we can kind of do, on a daily basis. We can keep pushing, keep searching, keep looking for more information, look for more cases. Don't be afraid, though, to step outside of this conversation, outside of the conversation that we're reading on these memos and these, the report and stuff like that. There's been a lot of walking the line kind of talk been going on. Like, oh no, don't talk about that. You don't want to freak people out. You always have to be careful who you talk to and how you present yourself and what you say, right? And how you hold yourself in a conversation, no matter what topic. If you think somebody's going to freak out because you're going to talk about the abduction phenomenon or, I don't know, the aerial school case, right? Where the beings are out of the craft and the little kids. Like, we should still talk about these things. We shouldn't be afraid because we're not the ones directly talking to Congress. We're not the ones putting out that report. And we have people very dedicated to this topic that are having those conversations. And we need to be like a think tank and continue to do what we've done. You know, because of people that weren't afraid to step outside of the box, you know, unconventional thinkers, rebels with their thoughts, we are kind of where we are today. You know, and unfortunately, people forget too that if it wasn't for Betty and Barney Hill, if it wasn't for Travis Walton, if it wasn't for all the experiencers, there would be no conversation. There would be no background. You know, there would be no real story to this. So don't be afraid. This is, you know, the report's out. They're getting more funding. Don't be afraid to step outside of the box a little bit. You know, I know people want to remain legitimate, but when you read a government report and they're talking about birds in plastic bags, look, legitimacy is in the eyes of the person listening to you. You know, some people say some crazy things that don't make any sense, and people think they're legitimate. So just know who you are when you speak and what you believe. You know, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to question the narrative or to speak outside of the box, or to go against what the community is talking about. You know, that's why debunking is healthy. Skepticism is healthy, but never be a blind skeptic or a blind believer. But just know that this conversation is so much deeper than what you're seeing on these reports right now. The good thing about these reports and what's happening with this is that, one, Congress is taking it seriously. Two, there's more funding, and hopefully the academic community starts taking it seriously. And we know, like what Ryan made a great point, like now we know like collection of this stuff is really going to start happening, and a real focus on it is happening. So trust me, man. Trust me when I say this. Don't be afraid to not walk that line. You know, I've been in a few conversations in the past few months, and I honestly felt like, well, don't say that, you know? Don't talk about that case, or don't express yourself like that about the topic, because you don't want to lose your legitimacy, or you don't want to make people think something about you. But this topic is so strange. It is unexplained. Nobody knows what's really going on. So for me to do that is ridiculous, right? I should be talking about every little aspect of this that I find along the rabbit hole. And we can figure out if it's real or fake or not together as a community. You know, we can have these discussions. So yeah, thank you guys for being here. And oh man, Sofa, thank you for that super chat, bro. Thank you, man. It means a lot, dude. If you guys want to support me at all, hit me, you know, with a super chat, or join the Patreon, or send me a message, send me a DM, say what's up in the comments. Talk to me, man. Like, I do this really because I love it, and I also love talking to you guys. You guys really do mean the world to me, in the sense of, if I didn't have a strong community around me of open-minded people that I could talk with, I'd be alone on my journeys down the rabbit hole, like I was for many years. And I really don't feel that way anymore. So thank you guys, man. All right, guys, it's been about an hour and a half, and I think we're going to end it here. But please join me again soon. Share this with everybody. Share it. And you guys rock, man. Again, like I said, I don't know what I'd do if I didn't have this community to sit down and talk with. Have a great rest of your weekend. Pat yourselves on the back. I know the report seemed a little small, a little light, but it wasn't. And it got something done that had to get done. And now we got to move forward. We got to push forward. All right, guys. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk soon.